In this presentation, we're going to be setting up inventory items. Let's zero into it with Xero. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars dashboard within Xero. We're going to be going to our items once again. So we had the service items last time. Now we're going to be looking at our inventory items. Same process, bit more complicated. However, it will be a step up in difficulty. We're going to go to the business drop down. We're going to go down to the products and services. So we have our four service items we put in last time. Now we're going to be adding the inventory items. Once again, we can do so by adding one at a time. We can add the one item, go through these items. Note that when we added the service items, we did not have this checked. We did not have this checked. We did have this checked. When you add the inventory items, then you're typically going to need this checked because you're going to have purchasing of the inventory, and you're going to want to do that with the purchasing documents, such as possibly a bill or possibly a purchase order and bill, purchase order, bill, purchasing documents. And then if you want to track the inventory within Xero, you could use this. Now note that you may have inventory and not want to track it within Xero, right? You might say, hey, I do sell inventory, but I'd like to track it in Excel or in some other kind of worksheet, at which time or in which case you would not want to check this and you'd have some kind of more simplified type of method, possibly a tracking in some other software, or possibly a periodic kind of system where you count the inventory in some way and track the inventory in that format without using the feature. If you want to track the inventory items in inventory, in other words, if you want inventory on the books, on the balance sheet, and supporting schedules listing that inventory by item, by inventory item, you'll need to set the tracking on. By default, too, this is not typically on by default because it does add complications. You want to make sure that you want to track inventory if you're going to turn that on. All right, I'm going to close this back out. We are going to be importing this. So we've already imported the service items. Now we're going to be importing the inventory items. So I'm going to open up another Excel sheet, so a fresh one that's going to be our template from Xero, as we did last time. I'm just simply going to open this one up. This time we're going to be adding more detail to it. We're going to have more cells involved because we will indeed be using the cells that will be related to the inventory items. So here it is. And once again, I'm going to highlight all of these columns up top. I'm going to make them a bit larger. I'm going to put my cursor right between the columns, like between these two columns, so it looks like that. The cursor looks like that, not like that, but like that, not like that, but like that. And then I'm double clicking on it. Then I'm going to make this a little bit larger down below. I'm going to bring it back up to that 150, 150. And then we're going to be picking up these items. Now I'm going to imagine that we took this information from another software. And this were the headers that they had. And I'm simply going to take this information that we downloaded and copy and paste it into the format so it best suits the upload within Xero. So they had something like the inventory code, the SKU. So I'm going to be picking that up and say, well, okay, where can I put that here? I'm going to call that the item code. So which I think is a better name for it personally. Item code. All right, and then I'm going to go back over here, and this actually stands for the stock keeping unit, which I can never remember, and I personally would like the simple term of just the item code. And then we have the sales description. And so the sales description, I'm going to put that in the item name. And then notice it kind of pulled over here as well. I'm going to make this a little larger. I'm going to say there's the item name. I'm going to say it's the same for the purchases description. Item name, purchase description. So I'm going to name the item this, and when we purchase it, it's going to populate on the purchase documents such as the purchase order and possibly a bill in this format. So you can imagine, like in the invoice, it's probably the easiest form to imagine populating. You would have then the item that you would pick, and then it would populate in the description field this. Well, the same would be true for a purchase order. The description field would basically populate this. That's what I'm imagining would be happening. And then we have the purchase unit price. So how much do we buy these things for? This is not what we sell them for, but what we buy them for. I'm going to pick up the cost here. So we'll say that's going to be the unit price. Now the unit account. Now remember that Xero was kind of picky, likes account numbers on this. So I'm going to go back over to Xero. Right click on this. I'm going to duplicate this tab so I can then go into the chart of accounts and see what account we want on the purchase side of things. So I'm going to go back up top. I'm going to select the accounting drop down. We're looking for that chart of accounts. I would believe that the purchase account would be inventory. So I'm looking for assets up top. So I'm going to go to the assets. I'm hoping that's inventory because I see another line item for inventory as well. So we'll see. We're going to test this out. We're going to go into the inventory here. We're looking for this inventory asset. That's the one. Now remember, they want the account number, so I'm going to pick up the account number of 1400. 1400, 1400, 1400, 1400. Then I'm going to copy and paste that, or simply, let's copy and paste it. I'll copy it and then paste it. And then we have the purchase tax rate. So I'm not going to add any purchase tax rate here. I'm going to leave that cell blank. We have the sales description. So sales description, that's going to be the same description. So now we're on the sales side. So when we have the purchase description, that's going to be used when we make like purchasing forms, like a purchase order. And then the sales description is going to be used when we make like sales forms, like invoices and sales receipts. Then we have the sales unit price. This is what we sell them for, not what we purchase them for. And typically, if we want to make money, we sell them for more than what we purchased them for. So I'm going to put the sales unit price there. And then the sales account. So now we need to choose another account. So this would be like a revenue account, you would think. So I'm going to go back over to our Xero, and I'm thinking these would be in like the revenue account. So I'm going to go over to the revenue section. And the revenue account for when we sell inventory is often called simply sales. So you could say merchandise down here. So maybe that would be more appropriate. We could put it into merchandise because they have one of those. Let's do that. We'll put it into the merchandise. So we'll put the 4200. Let's use the old 4200, 4200, 4200, 4200. Then I'm going to copy that, paste it on down because it's going to be the same for the rest of the columns as well. The sales tax rate. Do we have a sales tax rate here? Let's go back over. Not showing a sales tax rate. I believe it was a California tax, so I think it's 9.5. Let me double check. I'm back from my double checking, and I believe that we are indeed using the 9.5%. So now we have to think about, well, what kind of format do we want in this cell? I don't think we want a percentage format because it's going to be a CSV file. So I think if we move the decimal 2 places over on a 9.5%, I think we want 0.095. So let's hope that that populates incorrectly. And if it doesn't, then we'll test it out here so you don't have to, and you can do it whatever the right way is once you do it. And so we're going to go into the inventory asset account now. And notice here again, it's asking for the inventory asset account, and it asks for the purchase account, which I would think would be the inventory account. But I think it's going to be the same number as the 1400 because this is going to be increasing on the purchase side. And now they're asking what account is going to be decreasing when you sell the item, which is going to be the same account, the inventory account. That's my assumption here. And again, we'll see if that is indeed the case. And if it's not, if we mess this up, if I messed it up in some way, then we will figure that out. And then we're going to go to the cost of goods sold. And the cost of goods sold, let's check that out. I'm going to go back to the Xero software looking for the cost of goods sold. I think that would be in like the expenses area. Let's take a look at the expenses tab in the old chart of accounts. First one being that cost of goods sold, that's going to be the 5,000. So we want to pick up that account number of 5,000. Back over here, 5000. I didn't even have to repeat that one in my head because that one's a pretty straightforward number. And I can only remember like 2 numbers at a time. Most people say 7, but really I'm like at 2 or 3 maybe. So I'm going to copy this and we'll paste that right there. All right, so I think that is it. So notice a few more cells, few more units, but same kind of process as with the service items. Now note when we upload this item that we are going to have to deal with, we have the 2 objectives at this point in time. One objective is to have these items be populated, so they will populate when we create the invoice as we had with the service items. However, we have another objective where we would like it to be tracking the inventory account balance. We would like it to be putting the inventory account balance here of the 2008.96, which I don't see how it's not going to be able to do right now until we enter the beginning balances, because I'd like to have a balance on the on our form that could be supported and tracked in the Xero software. So we can't do it with this form because notice we're going to have to go back in there and see if we can do that, because it didn't ask us. What it did not ask us for here is the number of units we have on hand and the date that we have them on hand as of. So we can't really, it wouldn't be able to calculate the beginning unit price. So we're going to enter this information in and then see if we can go back in there and enter the opening balances in place. And once we enter the opening balances, it should help us to give us that opening balance number, which we'd like to populate on the balance sheet. So we'll take a look at that later. Right now, I'm just going to simply save this. And in the next one, we're going to be uploading this file and into the Xero software and then pushing forward from there.